Are you looking for an unconventional, unapologetic, and fresh TV show that addresses gender-based violence by the youth for the youth? Then Issues on Red is definitely the place to be. We are bringing silence to light by addressing every single issue that we left unread.
Mebala. Thank God it's Friday again, because now I get to be in front of your screens in, I wanted to say living rooms, but we're not doing traditional TV nowadays. We're out here with devices. Welcome to the 9 to 5 Hustler. As per usual, I'm your host, Murama Masetli, and today I have another superwoman. She does everything in the creative sector, and then on top of that, you are in the public health service sector at the same time.
Yes.
Right? Okay. We are here today with Miss Juby Peacock. Hi, Juby.
Hi, Moronga.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sure a lot of people recognize you from the socials, from your time at Miss Botswana, but because we need to make sure everybody's up with the times, we don't want people to assume it's 2004 or 2010, Juby. Can you just give us a brief background, who you are, what you do every day from 9 to 5, and then what do we do when the rest of us are trying to eat supper?
My name is Juby Peacock. I am a social worker by training, and then my master's degree is Master of Arts in Governance, Development and Public Policy. I work for the United States Embassy under PEPFAR, which is the Presidential Fund for HIV/AIDS in Botswana. Well, around the world, but we're in Botswana. So that's what I do, and then I'll let you lead me into the other things I do. Yes.
So, during the day, you do a very serious job during the day. You're leading, or I want to say dealing with communities and their issues and their struggles.
Well, I actually do more of the management side of things, of the office is HR and travel. Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. But then in the evening, you're writing, you're performing. I mean, you're about to release a book.
Yes.
How do the two worlds, how did we go from social work to creative work? Like, where's the meetup?
Well, it's always juggling. I've always dabbled in the creatives. When I was younger, I did more songwriting and singing.
I didn't know that.
And then graduated to the poetry. And then I do a lot of emceeing and motivational speaking. Whatever brings the money home. So, yes.
Yes, actually, no, that really is what matters. At the end of the day, I think one of my favorite things about the Western world, and I'll always say this, is that you can have multiple concurrent jobs running at the same time, and you get to plan better how your money works, because, you know, if my Monday, Wednesday, and Friday work is paying for my rent, that means everything else I'm doing is pocket money, saving for vacations. And we don't necessarily have that in Botswana, but here you are with these different roles.
That's true, and it's seasonal. There'll be times when the emceeing is the one that people are calling me for, and there'll be times where people want me to come make speeches, do keynote addresses, unveil things, and then there's times when the poetry is the one that's now you're being called for. So it helps to juggle, because most of these side jobs, especially creative jobs, they're seasonal. So there's a time when everybody wants you, and there's a time when it's quiet. So when this one is quiet, then
somebody else gets music.
Yes.
Oh,
so you juggle that way.
No, that's actually a brilliant way to look at it. I don't think many people consider the creative industry seasonal.
Yes.
I think we all just assume, well, if I'm a singer, if I'm an actor, if I'm a writer, I'll make it somehow, some way, making keep working. And then for a lot of us, it ends up as a disappointment when you discover that doesn't necessarily get you where you want to be.
Yes.
Is it safe to say you've maybe found the formula that works well for you, like in terms of your personal career development?
With creativity, I think you are always working. You might not be making money, however, you always need to feed the art.
Yeah, that's
for the art to feed you. You nurture it. So, for example, if I'm not getting MCing gigs, I'm watching other MCs and what they're doing better. If I'm not getting called for poetry gigs, I'm like, let me sit with my art. Can I get workshopped? Can I do something that will sharpen the art? Because if you don't move with the spaces, there'll be other brilliant artists who will come up, and you'll just disappear in the background. So you always have to make sure you're working. So just because I'm not in the limelight at that moment doesn't mean I'm not doing the work. So with creative work, I feel that if you don't sharpen it, you can lose it. You can lose it. There's a parable in the Bible, the parable of the talents. It actually talks about that. The unwise servant buried the gift, and then the master was very angry. Why did you bury the gift? And then the master had told the servants to multiply the gifts, to invest in them. So sometimes you can have like a gift. Is it singing? Is it poetry? Whatever it is, but if you don't nurture it, you can lose it. That's the scariest thing.
Ooh, I'm a folk. I think I need to give the viewers just 30 seconds to digest that for us. It's mostly for me, guys. I'm always learning. So please, I don't put the 2 minutes. We'll be right back on the 9 to 5 Hustler. Welcome back to the 9 to 5 Hustler. I'm still here with our lovely superwoman of a guest, Miss Juby Peacock. So she works in public health, specifically doing social work on the management side of things, you said, right?
So I work with the PEFA coordinating office, and I do management for the office.
Okay, like office manager.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes. Admin and management.
Admin and management, yes.
Okay, then on the other side, you are, I'm going to say, entirely performing artist / writer.
Yes.
Okay, so on a typical day, just your normal Monday to Friday, what is it like? Like, when do we wake up? How does the office day work? And then at night, when we're trying to get creative, how do we put those things together?
Yeah, so I'm a very spiritual person, but I'll try not to take us to church. But I wake up, my day starts at 12 a.m.
Midnight?
Yes, I start prayer, either at 12 midnight or 2 a.m.
Oh, wow.
So we start by praying, probably for an hour or two, and then I'll go back to sleep.
Okay.
So then I'll get up at sometimes 5, sometimes 6 a.m., get ready for work, get on the traffic, and then, so I'm at the office at 7:30. Wow. Yes. Depending on which day it is, there'll be a few meetings because obviously you do your work, but there's also a lot of work that is done in the coordinating office. So you still everybody in the office is a coordinator. So there are a lot of things that we coordinate. And then lunch, I'll go out for lunch, but it's just like strictly 1 hour, then you'll rush back. So that's my day job. However, if there's a gig, for example, if I am emceeing for an event, then typically if I know about it in a week in advance or 2 weeks in advance, then I always insist on a script. I'm that kind of MC who wants a script.
Oh.
So yes, I want us to script the whole event.
I didn't know that was an option. MCs don't just stand there and go, Dumelang, hi.
Well, yes, but typically, especially if you are emceeing for corporate events or governments, there's a lot of protocol involved. So scripting the show always helps me to know what I must say and what I must not say. Then when you have it scripted, it's easier for you to tell jokes. It's easier for you to do some creative things because you know you're not going to cross any boundaries that are going to get you into trouble. So I don't know how other MCs do it, but I insist on scripting. So yes, that's if I'm emceeing.
I think I always just assumed it's something you can just do on the fly, but you're right. It's for a corporate event, like if it's Depswana, if it's Office of the President, you can't just show up and necessarily entirely be yourself. It's very easy to say the wrong thing or use the wrong tone. So that's fair. Okay.
And that's the only thing they'll remember.
And then they don't call you back.
Yes, and it can dent your reputation, but people forget that they didn't tell you. And I've been to events where I've been asked to MC, for example, for a book launch, which was somebody who was in the church sector, and I asked them up front, you know, what are the cultures of your church? What boundaries should I not cross? And they said nothing is an easy show, but in the end, it came to bite me in the, you know, something that I asked for in advance. So I've learned the hard way that you need to script it, so that whoever says what you say, you know, this is our agreement. I showed you the script, you signed it off, we went with it.
Ah, okay. All right. I'm always learning something new.
Yes.
Okay, so if I ever get asked to MC, first and foremost, I'm going to ask for a script, or at least so that we can work on it together.
Yeah, together.
Because,
Yes.
it's fair that I wouldn't want to embarrass you the same way Juby doesn't want to embarrass her other people. Now, what if it's like a performance, a poetry performance?
Whew. So you get a poetry performance where they give you a subject and you can choose from one of your existing poems. And then you get invited for a performance where they want you to write a poem from scratch, which is more money. So depending on which one it is, you want to be rehearsing at different times of the day. You want to go to the venue early so that you feel the energy of the place. Because I believe places and people have energy. Yes, I'm a Christian. I don't believe in energy in that way. I don't worship it, but there is energy in different places. So I prefer to go there and just sit around and feel it. Like what am I getting? What vibes am I getting about this place? So you've written it, you have recited it a few times that week, and then on the day you go early to get the feel of it, and then pounce on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it easy to like get time off the day job to do the creative things? And is it easy to, I don't know, push the creative things as much as you're passionate about it? Because I mean, I hear the passion, but I don't imagine it's an easy balancing act.
No, it's not. So most of my gigs I schedule for Friday because I work half day on Friday.
Okay, nice.
Or on the weekends. But once in a while you'll get lucky, especially if it's for example, if I tell people at my workplace that I've been asked to do this by the Minister of Health or the Office of the President, it's easier for me to justify. So they can easily sign that off and say, oh, this is important. So it depends on what it is.
Okay, all right. I mean, I don't think, what's the proverb? When you serve two masters,
I know.
At some point one always has to suffer. And and not in the sense that the things you're passionate about are your masters, but at the end of the day, if you're trying to push them both to the same extent at the same time, it's inevitable that something has to suffer. And you have to sort of balance it in a way, one way or another. So
I think yes and no, but we both know that women are the greatest multitaskers.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
We're very bad at doing just one thing.
Yes. if you can juggle family and being a wife and being this and this, you can juggle having a day job and having hustles. Yes. It's like the female mind is just connected. You know.
True. I mean, it's not like I'm capable of doing like one thing at a time.
Yes.
Even in my day job, I'm often being yelled at because I'm doing multiple things at once.
Because even when I'm reading, it's like I can't read one book at a time. It has to be 3 books or 5 books. So it's like the mind. It's and then you pick up something and then
Okay. So I'm not alone in my bit of, I don't want to say ADHD functioning, but in my ability to sort of focus on more than one thing at one time. Of course, the focus is never the same because the way I would read, let me say, Maya Angelou would be entirely different from how I'd read James Baldwin. So, I can see how it's so easy for women to say, okay, this part of the mind will go there, this other part will go there. And then now coming to the book, how was it now allowing Juby Peacock, the writer, to step out and shine?
Yes, so this is my debut poetry anthology. I've been writing poetry for more than 10 years. And a lot of people just said, if you want to move ahead with poetry, you need to write, you need to compile a body of work. And it's poetry, yes, but it's also like a bit of a biography, because the reason it's called The Chronicles of a Peacock is stories about my personal life. It's like I'm bearing my soul, and these poetry, most of the poems are not abstract. They're about something real, something tangible. Most of them are from the first person, and if they're not, they're about something that's happened in my environment. You know, if I'm talking about sexual abuse, for example, I've been a social worker for 10 years in hospitals. So I've counseled a lot for rape, for child abuse. So those traumatic cases. So if I'm going to write a poem, there's a poem in there called Candy, where I write a poem about this young girl and how she got abused within her family, and then how that developed and how she ends up building this persona, which is basically protecting herself from the world, but she doesn't get to live because of all these layers that she has to put to survive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's called Candy because basically the uncle lured her in with a piece of candy.
Oh my.
So,
goodness.
So it's different when you are writing from that, from personal experiences, from life experiences, and the stories that have made you cry, and now you want people to feel that.
Yeah.
These people are survivors, but they're human beings.
Yeah.
You know, they have souls. They feel this pain. I want you to feel a piece of this pain that my clients have felt. You know. So even though some of them are fiction is always based on a bit of truth.
Yeah, it is. It is. Okay.
Yeah.
Whew. What a note to pause. Again, guys, I think we need to put that aside, think about ourselves for a second, think about the creative things we're doing that are impacting the world. And I mean that on a very serious note, because writing a book like this that speaks to you and to other people at the same time, it's no easy feat. So let's go think about this for a second, and we'll be back on the 9 to 5 Hustler. Welcome back to the 9 to 5 Hustler. And before we went on our break, our lovely guest, Juby, was telling us about what a journey it was writing her book, The Chronicles of a Peacock. And I'm not sure many writers do this, because so far the books I've read, at least most of the books I've read, they don't necessarily come from an entirely biographical point of view. There's a lot of fiction in there. What exactly made you decide this story has to be something the people can relate to, but it be something real, something that they can ask about, something they can get more information about, and truly just go with it and say, I'm learning from this because somebody else experienced it?
Well, first of all, I knew that by the time this book comes out, I would have turned 40.
Oh, okay.
So when you hit 40, you basically in a time in your life where you are thinking legacy, like what am I leaving behind? Somebody takes me out tomorrow, what am I leaving behind? You know, what will speak for me when I'm not there? So for me, part of legacy is writing, it's scripting something for the next generation to see.
Yeah.
And I also believed that I have a story to tell. I have a story to tell. The poetic gift in me was inspired by my late uncle called Christopher Ramsden. So the book is sort of dedicated to him.
Yeah, okay.
Because he didn't get an education. He finished with standard 7 because he had epilepsy. So in the book, there's a poem called The Great Stallion, and it's dedicated to him. So this is also a way of me saying thank you and saying just because you didn't get to finish, didn't get an education, doesn't mean you're not leaving a legacy.
Yeah.
I'm here because you planted certain, seeds into my soul, and because you kept on reciting these poems over and over to me, my spirit caught something. So I believe I have a story to tell, and the different poems represent different seasons in my life. So, and it's divided into 7 segments, topics that are very close to my heart. So, yeah, I felt there's something that I want to present something authentic to the world. And there's nothing as difficult as burying your soul. Yeah.
That's true.
Yes, it's like a pound of flesh. It's like you're now really burying my soul.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, well, I have to say I really appreciate that, because I don't think enough of us look into our past and see the depth of influences we had. A lot of people laugh when I tell them that I started writing because my dad turned off the DSTV.
Yes.
It sounds like a very simple story, but I wasn't doing as well at school as I should have.
Yeah.
And he said, look, we need to get into some reading. We need to get into some activities that are not Telegame Station, that are not Cartoon Network. And then he handed me a book and he said, there's no more TV. But I can't say that that didn't nurture something specific, because now I'm the person people come to at the office when they need something proofread. I'm always reading every other thing, and I'm the one who's likely to write something, because it's easier for me to just play with the English language. But yeah, I don't think we look at that enough to say this is the legacy that was left by the people before us. How do we take it and then go on with it?
Yes, that's very true. And most of the time when we think legacy as people, we're thinking famous people. We don't think about our typical mother and father, or your uncle who might not be on TV, or who might not be a millionaire.
Yeah, that's true.
But what about the people in your immediate environment? How have they impacted you? And how do you honor them? How do you honor that memory to say,
That is fair. I think I'm going to challenge everybody. Hi, Batho ba Mebala. Can I please ask you to just look into your lives and consider the impact your environment has had on you, whether positive or negative, where you are today? How has the people you've met, the places you've been, the things you've done, how have those things shaped your world today? And what do you intend to leave behind? How do you intend to shape somebody else's world? Okay, just think about that 2 seconds. And then, Juby, what are the challenges though? Like, I want to start with writing. Like, what were the challenges with writing the book specifically and getting it to this point?
Well, my biggest challenge was writer's block.
Okay.
Yes, I would have probably published this book 2 years ago. However, not all my poems are inspired. Some poems I'll sit and, just write, do some research. Like, for example, the Pan-African poems, there's a section for, However, for the poems that are inspired, you can get like a line, and then you have to wait months or years to finish that poem.
Yeah.
Because it's just not you,
Yeah.
It's not only about you. It's about, there's God out there who wants to channel this thing through you, who wants to communicate through you. So that poems you have to wait for. It's sort of like they find you. It's a gift, You just
it comes.
Yes. So writer's block, definitely, because some of the poems, but some of them you have to wait for inspiration to come. And there's a lot of editing, because one of my fears, especially with poetry, is I don't want my poems sounding like somebody else. I want them to sound like Juby.
Yeah.
So it means I do a lot of editing myself. And sometimes if I, take it to the publisher and then the editor edits something, I have to be able to say, no, I know it might not sound right, but it's fine. I'll go with this. So, because poetry is also about the rhythm, it's also about what it brings out when it's spoken. So the typical person who's just very strict will want to edit some things, but you might lose your voice in the process if it becomes too polished. So you end up advocating to say, no, it's fine. I'll take the risk of allowing it to be this way.
That's another thing I didn't know. I didn't realize that. Okay, so I know all writers have editors. And I've always assumed that every single editor is super strict, going to follow the rules of the English language. But then I remember that I read books like Catcher in the Rye. And I'm realizing that was that voice, and it was important for it to be that way. And I can see why it would be important for Juby Peacock, for Abarolong Seboni, or for any other, especially African writers, to be able to keep that voice. Okay, guys. I need to ask you for 2 more minutes, okay? Just put that side, and we'll be right back on the 9 to 5 Hustler. Welcome back to the 9 to 5 Hustler once again. I'm still with Miss Juby Peacock, and we've just been going through the struggles that you faced trying to get through writing your book. You've mentioned writer's block as one of the heavy struggles, and I understand this, keeping your voice because the editor might want to change too much. Are there more hiccups that you have to get through when you're trying to publish your own book?
Yeah, being self-sponsored, being what do they call it? Self-published.
Oh, okay.
Is a challenge. But if you find a publisher, a good publisher, and the reason why I chose this particular publisher is because they're a Christian publisher. I didn't want to go with a secular publisher because I didn't want anybody questioning. I wanted somebody who'd understand exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes.
So for me, it
fair.
mattered like an established Christian publishing company who understand the principles of the faith, the foundations of the faith, so that I don't have to struggle with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
So when you have a 9-to-5 and you are editing your own book, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Because it means you come home. I'll typically arrive at my apartment at like 6, 7, sleep 2 hours. 9 o'clock, I'm up. 9, 10, and sleep. Just to try to get a fresh set of eyes.
Yeah, like let the brain rest.
Yes, there's a lot that happens. Like then you, for a week, you close the editing for a week so that the mind can rest. And then you come again with a fresh set of eyes. And you send it to them, and then, and then they're able to pick out some things, and then they say, you see 1, 2, 3, and then you go through them and say, okay, this was a mistake, okay, I acknowledge that, but this is fine, this is fine.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of back and forth. I just thought it was going to be like 2, 3 edits, but there's a lot in different sections.
Yeah, no, I also thought it wouldn't have been like a long thing. Like I really thought you send it, they read through it, they send the first edits, you fix it, and then we go to publish.
And yes, and if it's because most of my poems are spiritual, you have to also think about things like, am I going to offend, a certain group of religious group, am I willing to take that risk?
Yeah.
Are you willing to go against this? But also some lines might be purely innocent, but you get to realize that this might be classified as blasphemy. Even in the other sections, like in the acknowledgement sections, you can acknowledge somebody and you're like, but this is honor that should only be given to God. Then you have to edit.
That's true.
So there's a lot of back and forth, but not just because of the spelling errors or the grammatical errors, but also, can this be misconstrued into something it's not?
Context matters.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I quickly just dive a bit left?
Yes.
And ask about some personal achievements. Like what are the things you say, oh wow, I'm so glad I achieved that. I'm so glad I did that. It's something that you put on your wall and tell, I guess, everybody if they'll listen.
Well, Miss Botswana 2004, obviously.
True.
And then after that, I was an international spokesmodel for diamonds with the De Beers site holder called Puchanic Diamond Company.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and then they have a jewelry brand called Escada. So I have a video on my Facebook recently where I show how my poetic journey is now merging with the diamond journey. Because it's 20 years later, and now I'm being featured in a Mopato Dance Group production, and it's called Deemane.
Okay.
So, and with the poetry being published, and now having to write poetry about Deemane with that kind of history.
Yes.
So that's a proud moment.
Yeah.
Yes. So apart from that, there's some purely personal, professional things that cannot be probably deemed as achievements. But for me, when I meet my former clients, social work clients, and they're very happy to see me, or if I see a client who went through a traumatic experience where even I thought they wouldn't be able to survive it, and I see them and they're fine, that's an achievement.
Yes, no, it is. It definitely is.
That's an achievement. Being a great sister, a great aunt, a great daughter, that's an achievement.
No, those are definitely good.
Yes.
I mean, let's be honest. There are plenty of parents who would rather have not had their kids.
Yes.
And I'm not... I know it sounds mean, Botswana, but
Yes.
there are children out there that would test the Limudimo just by their being. So I can see why that would be an achievement. And then on top of that, with your clients, I mean, I went into teaching at my previous job. It was just journalism and photography.
Yes.
And I won't lie, because my students were teenagers,
Yes.
they annoyed me a lot. But then I left the place I was working and I was gone for a couple of years. And this one day, I'm driving somewhere in CBD.
Yes.
I'm minding my own business. Are they not in the school bus? Ma'am, hi! And I was so happy. I won't lie. I'm not going to pretend like that didn't warm me up.
It does. It does.
I felt so good about my life because I'm like,
Yes.
but I saw you guys 3 or 4 years ago. How do you remember me? And you're so old now, like you've grown up. And somehow in that short amount of time, I touched them enough that they didn't forget. So I can see why it would be an achievement.
Maya Angelou says they didn't forget how you made them feel.
Yes,
basically.
yes. They didn't forget how I made them feel. Like,
Yes.
and I think that is the most important thing in terms of being a human. I think we don't give, I want to say, religious people enough credit for when they are purely human. Kind for the sake of being kind, good for the sake of being good, honest for the sake of being honest, with integrity for the sake of having integrity. And I'm not saying this is just a religious thing, but again, let's be honest, this is where we learned these things.
Yes.
A lot of us opened a Bible or another religious book, or we went to church or other religious house.
Yes.
That's the term.
Yes.
And we were taught how to be kind, how to be good, how to be loving. Not all of us followed the rules, but I think that is the bare minimum. You just have people remember how they made you feel. Yeah. Are there any other achievements you would want to add to the list? Anything? I mean, you did write a whole book.
I wrote a whole book.
Yes.
I wrote a whole book. I recently emceed the signing agreement between SADC and USAID.
Oh, nice.
Where USAID gave SADC, I think, $23 million for that agreement. What's it called? Regional corporate agreement, something. Yes, that was a proud moment because there were a lot of dignitaries there, and that's something very important. I recently also emceed at the 4th of July event for the American Embassy. Yeah, that was also just helping to guide the two cultures merging in that kind of event. It was a huge event.
Yeah.
So as an MC, those were proud moments. I've had platforms that I've performed at that were very proud moments. For example, the official listing of the Okavango Delta as a World Heritage Site, I was performing my poem Okavango there. So that was a proud moment. And Ian Khama was sitting right there, and he was the president at the time. And, you know, interestingly enough, even if you don't think you don't like a certain leader, but certain leaders, so, you know, that him being Khosi and him being president, there was something very intimidating about him sitting there.
Yeah.
So
no, you could see it.
Yes.
I remember those days. Like,
So,
he was...
Yes. So it was a proud moment to get asked to recite at such an event and to push through and make an impact at such an event. And it's a proud moment to be featured in the Mopato Temane production right now.
Yes.
A lot of proud moments.
One thing I'm definitely going to do is look out for the book, number one, and then I'm looking out for the production, number two.
It was showing yesterday, today, and tomorrow at Westwood.
Oh, guys,
Yes.
I have places to be and people to see. Just 2 more minutes and we'll be right back on the 9 to 5 Hustler. But Mebala, I am going to have to love and leave you just now because it is a Friday, and on Fridays we have things that we do. But I'm not just going to leave you empty-handed like that. My lovely guest, Juby Peacock, she has to tell you, or at least I'm going to ask her to tell you, how do we follow in your footsteps? How do I follow the creative path? How would I go into social work? And then where can we find you? Like, how do we get in touch with Juby, or where do we watch you, or where do we find the book? But yeah, how do we?
Well, social work, you apply for a university for a bachelor's degree in social work. I know there are also diplomas as well. Where do you find me?
Yeah.
Yes, and then I did my master's degree through the Chevening Scholarship.
Oh.
Chevening or Chevening? I think Chevening.
I've never been sure.
Yes, so through the British High Commission, they offer a free scholarship. It's not limited to age. You can apply at any age. So yes, I actually help a lot of people apply for the scholarship. So follow my footsteps. Yes, I do take my academics seriously. I try to balance at any point. I'm hoping I might go back for my my doctorate. So yes.
Dr. Peacock.
Hopefully, I hope God is listening. So, but typically I just read a lot. I love to read, and I believe, as much as we have a lot of technology, but I believe that the learning happens a lot when you read. There's something about reading that allows your imagination to catch on, and that fosters a real growth in a person. You're able to imagine, and you're able to retain vocabulary. You're able to express more, in my opinion, than if you're just fed stuff. If you're just watching stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that TV and internet cannot foster creativity. It can, even for myself. However, I still believe in the old school, reading a hard copy and staying with it and allowing it to really let you grow from the inside out.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree with that too. Like,
yes.
I have a lot of ebooks. I will not lie. I have a lot of ebooks, but I've probably only read the Paulo Coelho because I have an obsession with his books, and I just haven't been able to find all of them as physical hard copies. But yeah, I'm a physically open the book and read.
Yes, and read. In terms of where to find me, right now I work in Gaborone. I'm from Maun. And then my social media platforms are Juby Peacock for both my private and my personal page on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I interact a lot on Facebook. I'm from a village.
Yes.
So Facebook is the village app. So I'm in there. But they call me a Facebook pastor because I preach the word of God creatively on Facebook. What people don't know, though, is my consistency writing statuses on Facebook is I had been reading about how to grow as a writer, and they say that you have to sit down and write every single day.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yes, so part of my commitment to putting up those statuses is I need to write. Yes. Okay. Even though it just seems like a typical status, but I'm writing creatively.
Yeah, you're practicing for the Chronicles of a Peacock.
Yes. And then, you feed the art, and then the art feeds you.
That's true.
And then we end up writing the Chronicles of a Peacock.
That is very, very true. Yes. And I'm going to say it again, Batuba Mebala. It is a Friday. We do have things to do, but once the book is out, I am going to get that book. But in the meantime, it's for going to catch Juby in Teman.
Yes, Teman Mopato at Westwood.
Okay.
7 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay. No, that is my plan for the Friday evening. Whatever you are doing this weekend, Baholo, please stay safe, stay well, and catch us next week on the 9 to 5 Hustler.